I'll speak now in English for you, Ustaz Husam. Our next speaker is Husam Jubran. Husam is firstly a tour guide, and I did not check if he has an Israeli citizenship or not. So if that law passes, so he will not be able to be a tour guide here. Husam is based in Palestine. He serves as a representative in Palestine and Jordan for the Middle East North Africa Social Innovators Program. He has a master's degree from the Eastern Mennonite University in Conflict Transformation and Peace Building and a diploma in tourism. Mr. Jubran also works as an interfaith Holy Land tour guide and provides training in conflict management, crisis management and non-violence. That's our great pleasure to have you here with us. Tfaddal, Husam.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. First, thanks for Yonit and MXV for inviting me to speak today. It was a little bit of surprise. I wasn't expecting it, but I was happy that I got the invitation. Sorry for speaking in English. I wish I can speak in Hebrew, but unfortunately, I never get the opportunity to really learn Hebrew. So hopefully sometime in the future, if I live for a longer period, I will be able to speak Hebrew. I got a little bit, but not a lot. And I promise you it will not be more than 15 minutes, maximum 15 minutes. I want to speak today to reflect mostly in my journey as a tour guide and probably shed some lights about difficulties we face when it comes to East Jerusalem or working in East Jerusalem or in Jerusalem in general. And I remember when I decided to become a tour guide, it was pure luck. It wasn't planned at all, but I started studying in 1996. And that's the date when we Palestinians living in West Bank, I'm from Bethlehem, by the way, Beit Sahur, if anyone familiar with Beit Sahur, I live there. And that's the year when we were allowed to become tour guide by the permission of the State of Israel and the Ministry of Tourism in the State of Israel. We were allowed to become tour guide, I think according to Paris Accord in that agreement. So I was of the first group of guides who went to study. I went to Bethlehem University. I did my diploma there. And to be fair, I wanted to be mostly to play it by the book. It's just a work. I want to make some money at the end, so I didn't want to have any difficulties. So most of my focus at that time, Jesus did this, Jesus did that. Jesus was here, Jesus was there, and it wasn't more any of that. No politics, no culture, no people, not bringing anything outside the Jesus story. And I did that almost till the year 2000. Then the second intifada started, so we couldn't work. First, our permits were stopped, so we were not allowed to come to work inside Israel after that date. And anyway, there were no tourists. So I focused on my education. I did my master's degree in conflict transformation peace building. When I came back, I worked in different areas, mostly with Bethlehem University and Birzeit University. But then in almost 2009, 10, I decided to come back to tourism. And when I wanted to come back to tourism, I wanted to bring more the daily life, to bring the culture, to speak about Jewish history, Muslim history, Christian history, but also Palestine, Israel. It's not about biblical story, to come outside of the biblical story. And I remember when I started to become a tour guide, when I was studying tourism, my dilemma was how to present Masada. How I'm going to talk about Masada and present the Jewish narrative without feeling bad about my Palestinian nationality and Palestinian narrative. And it took me a while to try to find a way to present it. At least for the first year when I worked between 1999 and 2000, it was just focusing on to be shallow in presenting the story and not to go deep, because I wanted to feel comfortable after all. And I think I managed to bridge it later on by creating a debate, being more critical about everything happening here, and most importantly, about being able to provide different narratives to people. When I speak about any site, I'll try to present all narratives. And at the end, I realized, like when I came back to become a guide in 2010, I realized Masada wasn't the big deal. Jerusalem was the big deal. Jerusalem was the big deal because I say Jerusalem is a city without history. in a sense, if you look to the history as something happened in the past. Because when you go to Jerusalem, it's not about the past. Jerusalem is about the present, about the future. Everything you talk about there, it's going to affect someone's life, either now or in 2 minutes or in a few hours or in a few years. And I think it put a burden in me as a guide and hopefully also other guides how to present the stuff there for tourists coming from outside. Especially in my work, I do a lot of what we call a dual narrative. I work with Jewish guide. And then with my groups, we bring speakers from different groups. We bring a person from Silwan, for example, and a person from City of David, Al-Ad Foundation, to speak about the archaeology there. And he could speak a pure archaeology about the findings, what it means from a Jewish perspective, that's fine. But when we go to Silwan, that lady or that person will speak about the reality, daily life, what archaeology means to them, how it's going to impact their life, the fear they have about their future. Are they going to have a house in 2 years, or it's going to be taken for one reason or another? What it means to bring Jewish people to live in Silwan. It always will be seen as a threat. I usually call that kind of meetings the ping pong meetings, because one person will be speaking, but they're not playing ping pong, because one person is speaking potato, the other person is speaking potato, but each one is reflecting the reality that he lives too. And that also reflects on me when I work in Jerusalem. It happens a lot with me if I am in a Jewish quarter and I mention the word Palestinian, someone will jump. Hey, he's lying. Palestinian? They don't exist. Who are they? Go Google them. He's telling you lies. And that happens every now and then. If I'm in Al-Aqsa Mosque, I'm speaking about Jewish history of the Temple Mount, someone will jump. Oh, why are you saying that? You are Palestinian. Shame on you. You should not say that. This is not true. They just lies. And I think that put me, and I'm not sure about other people, but that put me under a lot of tremendous pressure, because at the end, I look to tourism as a tool to bring people together and not to separate them from each other. When I want to work with my tourists, I want them to get a deeper understanding of the Jewish narrative. I want them to get a deeper understanding of a different a Palestinian narrative. Jerusalem could be a good tool to bring that deeper narrative, but also it's very dividing tool when it comes to the reality. In many cases, I don't feel that I am welcomed as a tour guide. When I go to many places in Jerusalem, I feel that I'm strange to that spot. I'm not connected, though I'm trying to push the limits more than probably than any other Palestinian guides. Most of the other Palestinian guides will not dare even to speak archaeology or bring Palestinian to the table. I tried to bring a lot of people to work with my travel agency that I work with, and many refused. And I will give you one incident. For example, I was at the Al-Aqsa Mosque meeting one of the priests there, one of the imams there. And while we meeting the imam, the intelligence guy, the Shabak guy came. And he started to ask, who are you? Why you coming here? And in that time, I brought a Palestinian guide to train him so he could work with us in the future. I went to the Shabak guy and I started to talk with him. It was very nice talk. It wasn't bad at all. He just said, I just want to know who are you, why you are here. I told him we are a group of this so and so, and we're doing so and so. He didn't even ask for my ID. He didn't ask for a permit. He was very polite. And that was it. The moment he left, the other guide that we were training him came to me and he said, look, Husam, if you give me $1,000 a day, I don't want to work with you. Forget it. I don't want to be in any kind of the work you're doing, because it probably draw the attention of the Israeli intelligence, and that would put me in trouble. I don't blame him for thinking like that, because that's a reality that we face as Palestinian guides. In total, the Palestinians coming from West Bank, we are 44 people, I think, who can work inside Israel. The rest of us, we can't work inside Israel. They don't get permits to work inside Israel. Add to that a lot of Palestinians who are Jerusalemite, so I'm not sure how they consider citizens or not citizens. Many of them are residents with a permanent residence in Jerusalem, so I don't know if with the new law if they will be allowed to work or not. And you have the Palestinians who are living in Israel with the with the Israeli citizenship. Anyway, I try to give a reflection, but most feeling in many cases, me as a person, I don't feel that the sense of welcoming. I think that's the word I want to focus in many places. And in the Palestinian side, I think there is always that perception of fear of coexistential fear for most of Palestinians living in Jerusalem, because any archaeological digging, and I think Yoni mentioned some of the statistics, probably it's more, because usually wherever I talk with Palestinians living in East Jerusalem, I wish I have a big chart to show it to you in one of the gathering in Silwan area, where there is an image of a bulldozer digging beneath Al-Aqsa Mosque. So that digging will shake the foundation of Al-Aqsa Mosque in case if there is an earthquake, it's going to collapse. And I think that's usually the image about archaeology. If it's the best archaeology in the world, you're doing a pure science, it's always on the Palestinian side. And I think because they don't feel included in that archaeological digging, also the reality reflects that. Because as a Jew, as Ministry of Tourism, when you go to do some archaeological digging, the focus is to reach the Jewish layer. And like if you pass by the Muslim layer, oh, okay, that's cool, but we need to get more. Then the Byzantine, Crusader, Byzantine, Roman, oh, that's the Jewish layer. So that's the most important thing. That's the one that will be reflected and that will be shown, and the focus will be on it. Even like if you look to the signs, if there is something Crusader, probably could be smaller than if there is something Jewish that goes connected to the Jewish history. And I think that's why most of Palestinians feel strange with a lot of fear about any things related to tourism, because everything almost seen, even the development what I was hearing to the first speakers, it's seen as another tool to Judaize East Jerusalem. So whatever you try in all the talks, that always in our image is about making Jerusalem Jewish. And it means for us, if you make Jerusalem Jewish, that we don't belong to it. We will not be there, and you trying to kick us away. And I think that what leads to a lot of mistrust and a lot of tension that keeps growing in the city. Probably, I'm not expert of how you need to deal to that, but probably a message of comfort and including in the process of decision making probably could make a change on the side of the Palestinian people who are living in Jerusalem. One last thing I want for me to conclude with. For me, it became easier because I started to look to history differently, and that's what I try to reflect in my tours and my speaking. I belong to this land, and because I belong to this land, the history of this land is my history. So when I speak about the Jewish history, I'm very proud of that history because that's my history. When I speak about the Christian history, it's my history, and I'm very proud of it. The same with the Muslim history that's been here, and always I try to find a way to connect stories, narratives, to find the common ground for them. Just a quick example, when we speak about first Jewish revolt, second Jewish revolt, I like to draw parallels, or I call them first Intifada and second Intifada. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Husam, who reminded us, I'll do this in English for you, Husam, who reminded us about the two languages that are being spoken here in Hebrew and in Arabic. I think that in Arabic the term tahweed, or tahweed al-Quds, it's very much at the forefront, which is Judaization, while in Hebrew the term chofesh hapulchan is kept on mentioned, meaning the freedom of worship. This is the Israeli kind of official narrative that only Israel can keep freedom of worship. And there is quite an abyss, quite a gap between these two perceptions. And it does not seem that the two are either going to reconcile or even to sit together. But it's very good to have you here and to have your perception on it.